Just hours ago, the Social Security Administration quietly updated something most people don't even know exists, a behind-the-scenes priority list that controls who gets processed first and who suddenly moves to the back of the line. And here's why this matters to you. Because this update is already changing how fast payments move, who gets attention first, and why some people are now being told to wait longer, even though nothing about their case changed. Now, before you panic, stay with me. This does not mean benefits are being taken away, but it does mean the order has changed, and in the same update, a number keeps popping up. $2,000. Some people are seeing it, others are hearing about it, and many are confused about what it actually means. So today, I'm going to walk you through what just changed, why it happened right now, and how this new priority system could affect your money, your timing, and your peace of mind. Because what happens next will surprise you. Now, if you've ever called Social Security and heard your case is still being processed, this update is exactly why. For years, Social Security has used internal ranking systems to decide which cases move first. Not all cases are treated equally. Some are flagged as urgent, some are routine, some get paused, and most people are never told where they actually stand. But this week, that system was adjusted. Quietly, no press conference, no big announcement, just an internal update that's already changing outcomes. And that's why so many people are suddenly asking the same question: why am I waiting longer now? Here's the truth. Social Security is under pressure, massive pressure. Backlogs are still high, staffing is stretched thin, new claims keep coming in, appeals are stacking up, and the system simply cannot process everything at the same speed anymore. So instead of saying that publicly, they adjusted the priority order. Some categories were moved forward, others were pushed back. And if you're in the wrong category, your timeline just changed. Now let me be very clear. This is not random, and it's not personal, but it is impactful, especially if you're relying on an adjustment, a review, back pay, or a pending decision. And this is where emotions come in, because from your perspective, nothing changed. You filled out the forms, you followed the rules, you waited patiently, so why would you suddenly move backward? That's the part no one explains, until now. This updated priority list is based on what Social Security considers critical, and that definition just shifted. Cases involving severe hardship, certain disability situations, specific income thresholds, time-sensitive adjustments, those are being pushed forward. Meanwhile, routine recalculations, non-urgent reviews, and some appeals are being slowed down. Again, not denied, just delayed. But delays matter when you're budgeting every dollar, when rent is due, when groceries cost more, when utilities keep rising, and that's why this update feels so unsettling. Now, let's talk about the number everyone keeps hearing, $2,000. Before you get too excited, here's the reality. This is not a brand new bonus check for everyone. It's not a universal payment, and it's definitely not automatic. The $2,000 figure is showing up in cases where multiple things hit at once. Back pay releases, delayed adjustments, corrected benefit amounts, combined payments that were previously held up. When those cases move up the priority list, the money can come out all at once, and to someone receiving it, it looks like a sudden, unexpected payment. But here's the key. Those cases only move fast if they're ranked high enough under the new system. Which brings us back to the list. You see how all of this connects now. Priority affects timing, timing affects payments, and payments affect your stability. That's why this update matters so much more than people realize. Now you might be thinking, how do I know if I moved forward or backward? And that's the frustrating part. Social Security does not send a message saying, you're now lower priority. There's no alert, no letter explaining the shift. Most people only notice when something takes longer than expected, or when someone else gets paid faster, and that uncertainty creates anxiety. But here's some reassurance. Moving back does not mean losing benefits. It does not mean denial. It does not mean something is wrong with your case. It simply means your case is no longer considered urgent under the new rules. And urgency, right now, is everything. Now, why did this happen now? Why not months ago? Why not earlier in the year? Because Social Security is trying to stabilize the system before things get worse. More people are filing, more people are aging into eligibility, more reviews are required, and resources are not increasing at the same pace. So instead of letting everything slow down equally, they're choosing who moves first. That's the uncomfortable truth. And it's why this update was done quietly. Because once people understand how the list works, the questions start. And Social Security doesn't like panic. They prefer calm compliance. But knowledge is power. And if you're watching this, you already have an advantage. Now let's talk about what this priority list actually is, because once you understand how it works, a lot of confusion disappears. The priority list is not a single document with names on it. It's a layered system inside the Social Security Administration that ranks cases based on urgency, impact, and risk. Think of it like triage. Not fairness, not how long you've waited. Urgency. That's the first thing most people misunderstand. Social Security is not processing cases in the order they were received. They haven't done that for a long time. They process cases based on how serious the situation is right now, and that definition just changed. Here's how it works in simple terms. Every case gets categorized. Some are flagged as critical, some are marked standard, some are considered low risk. And these labels determine how fast your case moves through the system. Before this update, the categories were broader, more people qualified as urgent, more cases were pushed forward together, but with backlogs growing, Social Security tightened those definitions. And when that happens, people fall out of the top tiers, even if they did nothing wrong. So let's walk through the types of cases that moved forward under the new update. Severe financial hardship cases. That means people who can clearly show they cannot meet basic living needs without immediate action. Certain disability cases involving worsening conditions. Situations where benefits were completely stopped in error. Cases involving homelessness risk or medical emergencies. Those cases are now being pulled forward faster than before. If you're in one of those groups, processing may speed up, calls may get answered sooner, payments may release quicker, and that's where some of those larger payments are coming from. Now let's talk about the other side, the cases that moved back. Routine benefit recalculations, cost of living adjustments that don't affect survival immediately, non-urgent appeals, reviews where benefits are still being paid, just under review. Administrative corrections that don't stop income. These cases are still active, still valid, still approved or pending, but they are no longer considered urgent. And that means longer wait times, not because you don't matter, but because the system is overwhelmed. This is where frustration builds, because from your point of view, you've waited months. You've sent paperwork. You've done everything asked. So why would someone who applied later move ahead of you? Because their situation triggered a higher priority flag. That's the part no one explains. And here's something very important. Priority can change without notice. If your situation worsens, your case can move up. If your situation stabilizes, it can move down. And Social Security does not automatically reassess urgency unless something triggers it. That's why some people suddenly feel stuck. Now let me give you a real-world example. Imagine two retirees, both waiting on a benefit adjustment. One still receiving a steady monthly check. The other had payments paused due to a processing error. Under the new system, the second person jumps ahead, not because they applied first, but because the impact is more severe. Another example, someone waiting on back pay while still receiving benefits versus someone whose claim is approved but not yet paid at all. The unpaid case moves first. That's how the list works. It's not about fairness, it's about damage control. And this is why the update feels so sudden, because Social Security didn't announce it. They simply re-ranked cases internally, and people only notice when timelines change. Now here's where anxiety creeps in. If you moved back, you start thinking something is wrong, that your case is flagged, that you did something incorrectly. Let me reassure you, most of the time, moving back means nothing negative. It does not mean denial. It does not mean investigation. It does not mean trouble. It simply means your case no longer meets the highest urgency threshold, and that can change again. This is also why calling Social Security right now feels different. Longer hold times, more generic answers, fewer specifics. Representatives can see that your case is active, but they may not see movement because priority controls who gets attention first. Now here's the connection most people miss. Priority status affects when money is released, not just decisions. When a case is moved forward, payments tied to that case can release together. That's when people see unexpected large deposits, back pay plus adjustments plus current benefits, all at once. But if a case is pushed back, those releases are delayed, not cancelled, delayed. And that delay is what's driving so much online confusion. You see someone post about a large payment, you assume something new was approved, but in reality their case simply moved up the list, and yours didn't, yet. Now, before you start worrying about where you stand, here's the truth. Most people fall into the middle, not urgent enough to jump the line, not low enough to be ignored, just waiting. And waiting feels worse when you don't understand why. That's why this update matters, because it explains the silence, the delays, the uneven timing. Now, let's talk about the part everyone keeps asking about. The money, specifically the $2,000 payments, because this is where rumors explode, expectations rise, and people get disappointed if no one explains the truth clearly. So let me do that for you right now. First, listen carefully. There is no brand new universal $2,000 Social Security check. There is no surprise bonus being sent to everyone. And there is no automatic payment just because this priority list was updated. That's important to say up front. What is happening is more complicated and more realistic. The $2,000 amounts people are seeing are the result of multiple payments being released together after delays. And those delays are directly tied to priority status. Here's how it works. When a case sits in the system for weeks or months, money can stack up behind it. Back pay, adjustments, corrected amounts, sometimes even multiple months of benefits. Normally, those pieces might come out separately, but when a case suddenly moves forward on the priority list, everything attached to it can release at once. And when that happens, the deposit looks large, sometimes close to $2,000, sometimes more, sometimes less. But it's not new money, it's delayed money finally catching up. Now let me explain the most common situations where these amounts are showing up. First, back pay releases. This happens when a claim was approved earlier, but payments were held due to processing delays. Once the case moves forward, those missed payments are released together. Second, benefit adjustments. Maybe your benefit amount was recalculated. Maybe an error was corrected. Maybe income was updated. When those corrections are processed late, the difference is paid in a lump sum. Third, combined payments. Current month benefits plus past adjustments plus back pay. All in one deposit. That's where the surprise comes from. Now, here's the key point. Not everyone qualifies for this, and not everyone should expect it. If your benefits are already being paid correctly and on time, there may be no large release waiting. That doesn't mean you're missing out. It means your case was already stable. But if your case was delayed and then moved forward, the money can arrive all at once. That's the difference. Now let's connect this back to the priority list. Cases that moved forward are seeing faster releases. Cases that moved back are seeing delays. Not forever, just longer. And this is where online confusion gets dangerous. You see a post, you hear a rumor, you think everyone is getting $2,000, and suddenly waiting feels unfair. But here's the truth, those payments are not rewards. They're corrections, they're catch-ups, they're the system clearing backlog for high priority cases. And that's why chasing that number can lead to stress, because the question isn't, why didn't I get it? The real question is, was my case delayed in a way that created a lump sum? Now, here's another important detail. Some people are seeing payments around $2,000 because multiple months hit at once. For example, someone approved for a benefit increase 3 months ago, but the adjustment wasn't applied. When it finally processes, 3 months of difference are paid together. That can easily add up, especially when combined with a regular monthly payment. Again, not new money, just late money. Now, let's address something else honestly. Not all delays turn into large payments. Some delays just mean waiting longer for the same monthly amount. And that's frustrating. But it's also not a sign of trouble. It's a sign of where your case sits in the system, and that position can change. Now, before you start thinking about calling or panicking, here's what you need to understand. Calling Social Security does not move you up the priority list. Repeated calls do not speed up processing. In fact, unless something has changed in your situation, representatives often can't adjust urgency. Priority is based on impact, not frustration. That's harsh, but it's real. Now let me give you some reassurance. If you are receiving benefits right now, even if you're waiting on an adjustment, your income is not at risk. This update did not reduce benefits. It did not cancel payments. It did not cut eligibility. It changed processing order, and that's a big difference. But here's where it gets interesting. The priority list isn't static, it changes. Now let's talk about what you should do next, because this is where clarity replaces stress. First, I want you to hear this clearly. This update does not mean your benefits are being taken away. It does not mean your case is in trouble. And it does not mean you did something wrong. What it means is that Social Security adjusted how it handles pressure. That's it. And once you understand that, everything feels more manageable. So who needs to pay close attention right now? If you are waiting on a decision and no benefits are being paid at all, this matters to you. If your payments were stopped in error, this matters to you. If you're dealing with severe financial hardship or a worsening medical situation, this matters to you. These situations tend to trigger higher priority, and movement can happen faster. But if you are already receiving benefits and waiting on a routine adjustment, review, or recalculation, here's the reassurance. You are not losing anything. You are simply waiting longer. And waiting does not equal denial. Now let's talk about what not to do. Do not panic. Do not assume silence means something bad. Do not rely on rumors or social media posts. And do not feel pressured to chase a number like $2,000. Your situation is unique, your timeline is different, and comparison only creates stress. Here's what actually helps. Make sure your information is current. Address changes, income updates, living situation changes, medical updates, if applicable. Those are the things that matter, not repeated calls, not online speculation, not fear. Now, one important thing to understand, priority can change if your situation changes, if hardship increases, if payments stop, if circumstances worsen. Those factors can elevate urgency. And Social Security does respond to urgency. It just doesn't advertise it. Now let me talk to you directly for a moment. If you're watching this, you're already ahead because you understand something most people don't. This system is not about fairness, it's about survival. It's about keeping the most vulnerable protected first. And while that can feel frustrating when you're waiting, it also means the system is trying to prevent real harm. Now let's zoom out for a second. What does this update mean going forward? It means uneven timing will continue. It means some people will get paid faster than others. It means large payments will appear for some and not for others. And it means patience will be required, but not blind patience. Informed patience. You now know why timelines change. You know why silence happens. And you know why payments look inconsistent. That knowledge protects you from panic. And here's the most important reassurance of all. Nothing in this update reduced your benefit amount. Nothing eliminated eligibility. Nothing removed rights. This was about order, not cuts. Now let's end on something powerful. Social Security is complicated on purpose, and most people never get clear explanations. That's why channels like this exist, to slow things down, to explain what others rush past, and to help you feel confident, not afraid. So take a breath, stay informed, stay calm, and remember, delays are not decisions. They are just part of a system under strain. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe, stay informed, and don't let confusing headlines shake your confidence. You're doing the right thing by paying attention, and you're not alone.